Hello everyone, so here we are in second part of the story The Shroud, written by Munshi Premchand. And in the story we have two characters, Gishu and Madhav, and they are eating potatoes outside the home while Madhav's wife is threshing in the pain of a labor inside the hut. Pulling out the potatoes, they were beginning to eat them burning hot. They had eaten nothing since the day before. They were too impatient to wait till the potatoes cooled. Both burned their tongues repeatedly. When the potatoes were peeled, their outer parts didn't seem so extremely hot, but the moment the teeth beat into them, the inner part burned the tongue and the throat and the roof of the mouth. So because they hadn't eaten anything almost for 2 days, so they are eating potatoes which is very hot, and whenever they are putting into the mouth, it is burning their mouth and tongue and inside everything. Rather than keep that ember into the mouth, it was better to send it quickly along inward where there was plenty of equipment for cooling it down. So they are not just putting or chewing it, they are just directly swallowing it because there are so many equipments in the stomach to cool it down. So they both swallowed very fast, although the attempt brought tears to their eyes because it's very hot. So they are crying and eating together. Then Gishu remembered a landowner's wedding procession in which he had taken part 20 years before. Because they are just eating potatoes, so Gishu just remembered an event in which he has taken part in 20 years ago, where there was a landowner's wedding reception. The repletions that had been vouchsafed to him in that feast was a memorable event in his life, and even today its memory was fresh. He said, "I'll never forget that feast. Never since then have I had that kind of a food or such a full stomach." The girl's family fed puris to everyone as much as they wanted. So that is some marriage of a landowner's daughter, and he remembered that he never ate this much delicious food ever in his life, which even he has eaten 20 years ago, and he ate full stomach. And that landowners fed everyone so many puris to everyone. Great and small, everyone ate puris, once made with real ghee. Chutney, raita, 3 kinds of green vegetables, a favorable stew, yogurt, chutney, sweets. How can I tell you now what relish there was in the feast? There was no limit. Whatever thing you want, just ask. And however much you want, eat. People ate so much that nobody could even drink any water. And there the servers were setting hot, round, sweat-swelling pastries before you. You refuse, saying you don't want it. You push away the tray with your hand. But that's how they are. They just keep on giving it. He is just remembering how the beautiful, delicious item they had and how much they ate, that even they ate so much that there was no space in stomach for water. And when even they are refusing it, they are just still giving the servants, still giving them foods. And when everybody had wiped their mouths, then everybody got a pan as well. But how could I be in any shape of a pan? I couldn't stand up. I just staggered off and lay down on my blanket. He had a heart as big as the ocean, that landowner. Enjoying the story of these grand festivities, Madhav said, "If only somebody would give us such a feast now." मतलब ये तो 20 साल पहले की बात है, और ये जब पूरी जो बात है ये सुन के माधव बोलता है कि काश आज भी कोई ऐसी पार्टी देता होता. But nobody is doing that nowadays. As if anybody would feast anybody now. That was a different time. Now everybody thinks about economy. Don't spend money on weddings. Don't spend money on religious festivals. Ask them, what's the saving of the poor people's wealth? There is no lack of saving. But what it comes to spending, they think about economy. See? ये अच्छा डायलॉग है जब ये बोलता है कि आजकल तो ऐसी कोई वेडिंग्स या फेस्ट होता ही नहीं है, और उनसे पूछो कि ये जो गरीबों का इतना ज़्यादा रुपया है वो इतना सेव करके रखते कहाँ हैं. सेव तो ये लोग कर लेते हैं, सेव करने का तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, जब स्पेंड करने का होता तब इनको इकोनॉमी याद आती है। इतना ज़्यादा रुपये संभाल के रखते कहाँ हो गरीबों का। You must eaten 20 or so puris. I ate more than 20. I would have eaten up 50. ये तुमने 20 या उसके आसपास तो पूरी खाई होगी, मैंने 20 से ज़्यादा पूरी खाई थी, मैं होता तो मैंने 50 तो खाई होती। I couldn't eaten less than 50. मैं 50 से कम तो खा ही नहीं सकता। I was hale and hearty. You are not half of what I was. मैं जितना खा सकता हूँ उसका तो आधा भी नहीं खा सकता। तो दे काइंड ऑफ कॉम्पिटिशन। आफ्टर ईटिंग दे बोथ ड्रैंक सम वाटर, कवर्ड देमसेल्फ विद देयर धोतीज, कर्ल्ड अप एंड वेंट टू स्लीप राइट देयर बाय द फायर एज इफ टू जैगनेटिक सर्पेंट्स ले कोइल्ड देयर। सो दे वो आग के पास, बुझी हुई आग के पास इस तरह से सो गए जैसे कि कोई बहुत बड़े सांप है जिस तरह से राउंड करके बैठ जाते हैं, वैसे कोइल्ड दे स्लैप एंड बुधिया वो स्टील मॉर्निंग। और ये जब ऐसी सारी बातें करके सो गए तब भी जो बुधिया है, जो हट के अंदर है, वो अभी भी पीड़ा से कराह रही है। In the morning when Madhav went into the hut and looked, his wife had grown cold. Flies were buzzing on her face, her stony eyes had rolled upward, her whole body was covered with dust. In her stomach the baby had died. तो जब सुबह होती और माधव अंदर जाके देखता है तो उसकी जो पत्नी है वो पूरी तरह से ठंडी पड़ चुकी है, उसके चेहरे के आसपास मक्खियाँ भिन भिन आ रही हैं, उसकी आंखें ऊपर चढ़ गई हैं और उसकी जो पूरा शरीर है वो मिट्टी या धूल से पूरा भर गया है और उसके पेट में उसका बच्चा मर चुका है। Madhav came running to Gishu. Then they both together began loudly lamenting and beating their breasts. When the neighbors heard the weeping and wailing, they came running, and following the ancient custom, they began to console the bereaved. So, ये सब देख के माधव बाहर भागा, then they started to lamenting so much loudly. So when neighbor heard that as a ritual, or we can say as a custom, they came and tried to console them. But this wasn't the occasion for the excessive show of grief. They had to worry about the shroud and the wood. Money was as scarce in the house as meat in the raptor's net. So बात यह है कि उनको इस बात से ज़्यादा तकलीफ नहीं थी कि वो मर चुकी है, बात यह है कि अब उसका कफन कहाँ से लाए, उनके घर में तो कोई एक आना भी नहीं है। तो ये चिंता गिशु और माधव को ज़्यादा सताने लगी। फादर एंड सन वेंट वीपिंग टू द विलेज लैंडलॉर्ड, तो फिर वो भागे लैंडलॉर्ड की तरफ। ही हेटेड द वेरी साइट ऑफ देयर फेस, उसको देख के ही लैंडलॉर्ड को गुस्सा आ गया, उसको तो पसंद ही नहीं आया इन दोनों को चेहरा ही। A number of times he had beaten them with his own hands for theft or for not coming to work as they had promised. वो बहुत बार इन दोनों को उसके हाथ की मार पड़ चुकी है, कभी चोरी के लिए, कभी काम पे टाइम पे ना आने के लिए। He asked, "What is it, Gishu? Why do you weep? Nowadays we don't even see you around it. Seems that you no longer want to live in the village." क्या हुआ गिशु, आजकल तो तुम दिखते भी नहीं हो, गांव से कहीं बाहर निकल गए हो क्या, गांव में रहने का इरादा नहीं क्या? Gishu fell prostrate on the ground and said with tear-filled eyes, "Master, I am in great trouble. Madhav's wife passed away last night. All day she was writhing in pain. Master, we too sat by her till midnight." आहा, तो गिशु जो है वो तो भाई अपने आप को पूरा उनके पैर पे फेंक दिया और बोले कि हम बहुत बड़ी मुश्किल में है मालिक, जो ये माधव है उसकी बीवी कल रात को मर गई और उसको बहुत पीड़ा हो रही थी और हम दोनों उसके पलंग के पास ही बैठे थे पर हम कुछ भी नहीं कर पाए। Whatever medicines we could give her we did, हमारे पास जो भी दवाई थी हमने सब उसको दी थी, but she slept, पर वो फिर भी मर गए। Now we have no one to care for us, master. We are devastated. Our house is destroyed. मालिक, हम तो पूरे बर्बाद हो चुके, हमारा घर कुछ भी नहीं है, आप ही हैं जो हमारे लिए हैं। I am your slave. मैं तो आपका गुलाम हूँ। Now who but you will take care of her final rites. अब आप नहीं अंतिम संस्कार के जो है करेंगे तो कौन करेगा? Whatever money we had at hands was used upon medicine. हमारे पास तो जो भी रुपये थे उसकी सारी दवाई में चले गए. If the master will show mercy, then she'll have the proper rights. अगर अब मालिक थोड़ी सी दया बताएं तो हम कुछ उसके अंतिम संस्कार के लिए कर पाएँ. To whose door should I come except yours? अगर हम आपके दरवाजे पे नहीं आएंगे तो किसके दरवाजे पे आएंगे? Gishu is very mastermind person. The landlord Sahib was a compassionate man. तो जो लैंडलॉर्ड था वो दयावान था. But to show compassion to Gishu was to try to dye a black blanket. पर गिशु को compassion की दया बताने ऐसा लगता है जैसे कि जो black blanket है उसके ऊपर काली डाई करना. He felt like saying, "Get out of here. Usually you don't come even when you are called. Now when you want something, you come and flatter me. You treacherous bastard, you villain." कहना तो ये चाहते हैं मन में, but this was not the occasion for anger or revenge. पर ये जो मौका है ये सब frustration या गुस्सा दिखाने का तो नहीं है. Willingly or not, he pulled out 2 rupees and flung them down. इच्छा हो कि ना हो 2 रुपये निकाले और उनकी तरफ फेंक दिए. But he didn't open his lips to say a single word of consolation. He didn't even look in Gishu's direction as if he had discharged a duty. तो एक भी शब्द उसने अपने मुंह से निकाला नहीं और ना ही गिशु की दिशा की तरफ देखा. He was like just उसकी अपनी ड्यूटी कर दी कि हाँ भाई किसी के रिचुअल्स हैं तो वो कर दो भाई, अपनी जवाबदारी पूरी कर ली, बाकी किसी के लिए उसको कोई खास पड़ी नहीं है. When the landlord Sahib gave 2 rupees, then how could the village merchants and money lenders have the nerves to refuse? Gishu knew how to beat the drum of the landlord's name. तब जब इतना बड़ा जमींदार रुपये देता है तो ये जो छोटे मोटे यहाँ के व्यापारी हैं, मनी लैंडर्स हैं, वो क्यों नहीं देंगे? क्योंकि गिशु को तो पता है लैंड ओनर्स का नाम लेके किस तरह से रुपये निकाले जाएं. One gave 2 paisas, another gave 4 paisas. In an hour, Gishu had collected the sum of 5 rupees in ready cash. उनके पास 1 घंटे में 5 रुपए आ गए. Someone gave grain, someone else gave wood, and in the afternoon, Gishu and Madhav went to the market to get a shroud. Meanwhile, people began to cut the bamboo pale and so on. तो भाई वो तो निकल गई श्राउड लेने, उनको तो किसी ने गेहूँ दिए, किसी ने कुछ लकड़ियाँ दी और फिर वो श्राउड लेने निकल गए. जो दूसरे लोग थे वो जो बाम्बू पोल से वो काटने लगे जिससे वो अपनी उनकी जो डेड बॉडी है बीवी की वो जला सके. So here we are completing our second part of the story. Let's have some question answers. How Gishu and Madhav were eating potatoes? So they are eating it's very raw. They are not even letting them cool down. They are eating it very hot, and because of that they are burning their mouth. Describe the feast scene. So when there was a feast of a wedding 20 years ago, Gishu describes how and what he ate during the wedding. Just write down the scene. What happened in the morning? So when morning Madhav went into the hut, he saw the condition of her dead wife, that how flies buzzing around her face and her body was so cold and her child was dead inside her body. What was they worried? What they did for it? They were not actually worried that the person in their home actually died. They were worried about the shroud. So they actually went for landowners and the other people like merchant and money lenders to get some money for shroud, and this is how they arranged around 5 rupees. What they did after coming out meeting landlord? So when they came out meeting landlord, they went to the different merchants and money lenders to get some further money for the shroud, and then some people gave them grain and some people gave them woods so for the body, and this is how they went for different people. So we had this question answer sessions and the lesson. Now we will meet in third part of the story.